Hey everybody, welcome back to another news roundup. Hope you guys been enjoying the content on the channel as of late. We got a couple of news stories for this week, a couple of things that dropped throughout the week, primarily towards the end of the week, and I believe one thing that happened yesterday as well. So we're just gonna cover it all today, and yeah, so let's just get into it. So the first thing we're going to discuss is revolving around the Scream franchise, specifically Scream 7, the latest Scream, the upcoming Scream film, the latest one being Scream 6, which I believe came out last year, I think, or 2 years ago, I forget. This film's gone through a bit of a rough patch because the actors and the directors, former actors and directors, have left the project, so it's basically the production has dissolved since events unfolded with certain posts online with actress, and then that's just snowballed, and other people just decide to jump off from the production, namely for that, in support of that actress, among other things with production issues. So for a minute, it seemed as though Scream 7 was in trouble, and it looks like that they've bounced back now with Neve Campbell, who decided not to return for Scream 6 after a quote-unquote pay dispute, aka I'm not getting the kind of money I want. She is returning for Scream 7 and is reportedly getting an increase in her salary. So the whole reason of why she left in the first place is now she's getting what she wants. And the only reason why the studio is caving is because, as I mentioned, everyone else abandoned the film for one reason or another. They basically left them no choice but to crawl to the star and give in to her demands. So either they reboot the film, they reboot the series, or they continue. And they chose the latter, and they decided to bend the knee for this actor. And it's unfortunate because actors, solely actors, not actors who have producing credits or involved in other capacities, just actors, they should not and do not have power over a studio. Actors come to them for money. Therefore, they should decide the rates that they get. The producers, executives, the big people in charge of these productions, they should be deciding what the rates are, not the actors themselves. That's just them being greedy. So it doesn't work the other way around. But in this case, they didn't have much of a choice. So it's unfortunate, but she really she doesn't deserve that money or deserve that increase. I mean, yes, she's a veteran in the series, but that doesn't matter. It's all about what you negotiate, and that's it. It's not about what you desire. It's about what you negotiate. So, and yeah, so it's unfortunate, but they really didn't have a way out of it. So, all right. Next topic we're going to discuss is revolving around Disney. Now, Disney has had it, like many studios last year, a little bit of a rough year. And a Deadline article analyzed a few of Disney's profits in 2023, specifically 4 of its tentpoles, and illustrated a point of which we've discussed many, many times about last year, which was that it was a rough year for a lot of companies, and Disney was definitely one of them. So the films that they mentioned were The Marvels, which saw for Disney a $237 million loss, so a huge loss for them. Following that, Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, which was a $143 million loss. Wish was a $131 million loss, and the last film they mentioned was Haunted Mansion, which was a $117 million loss. So you put that all together, just by these 4 films alone, that's not taking into account other films from Disney that did not perform well last year. You're looking at, just from these 4 films alone, a $628 million loss. So over $500 million loss from Disney in 2023. So this really illustrates, this is not hyperbole, this really illustrates how in some cases a disastrous year 2023 was for Hollywood. I mean, there was some saving graces here and there. No one's saying that it was a terrible year. I mean, you had films like Barbie and Oppenheimer, Mario, that would bring in solid numbers. But it doesn't mean that these companies weren't suffering throughout. They absolutely were, especially Disney and Warner Brothers, because they also mentioned Warner Brothers with their failures, specifically with The Flash, that lost over about $155 million for them. And that, again, is not taking into account the other films from Warner Brothers that did not do well, specifically the superhero films. None of their superhero films turned a profit last year. Warner Brothers is, though. Warner Brothers, I mean. So, yeah, I mean, hopefully this year may see an improvement. It's still kind of a question mark. We have Planet of the Apes coming out this weekend for Disney, and that's looking to do good for them. So we'll see. I mean, we'll see how the summer unfolds, but so far it's still a trying time. I mean, even with 2024 as it stands, there's a lot of films that have not been doing well. So it's still a trying time, albeit better than expected. There's been some stuff here and there, but for Warner Brothers' benefit, more or less, with Godzilla and Dune doing really well. But that may be as far as we can take it, is that it's better than expected, but, you know. It's also worth noting that the analysis sheets further demonstrate why films need to perform more than twice the budget, because a lot of people still have this misconception that the old standard still is the way that that Hollywood is looking at film profit. No, that the old standard of a film making twice the budget, that was prior to the pandemic, when the studios can afford to have that sort of, profit, to have that profit be considered successful. But now, Hollywood is still in a recovery period, so they need bigger results in order to justify the cost these days. So it's not as how it used to be in 2019, where everything was, floating as normal. It's because now we're in a streaming period, and we're, recovering from the pandemic. So they need bigger results, bigger financial polls, and it's, it's difficult as it is. And in my opinion, it's still going to be difficult. I think this year is still going to be a hard year for them, for a lot of companies. Maybe not as bad as 2023 was, but definitely still a trying year. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, films definitely need to make more than twice the budget to justify the cost these days. And we'll see what makes money. I'm guessing not too many films, but we'll see. So, all right, let's move over to Rotten Tomatoes for a second. Now, I could care less about Rotten Tomatoes. I don't care for the critic score or anything like that. I don't take that into account into how I feel about film. Like, I'm not that kind of guy. I'm not flaky with my opinion. I know exactly how I feel, but they did an interesting thing with their reviews, because Rotten Tomatoes is all about the critic and audience scores. According to Screen Rant, and based on my own research to prove it's credible, because, well, it's Screen Rant. Rotten Tomatoes, when users search up films and their review ratings, when you Google search for the ratings of certain movies or whatever, apparently they were no longer prioritizing that of the critical reception, but that of the audience score instead, which typically leans more positively than negatively. Case in point, as Screen Rant points out, if you were to look up challengers, it would show you a 75%, where the critical rating is actually 88%. Doing my own research, I went to look up films such as Civil War. You would see a 71% rating, where the critical rating is actually 81%. Most recently with The Fall Guy, you would see an 87% rating when the critical rating is actually 83%. So they were actually deciding to put those reviews be the things that are shown on the Google result versus the critical scores. And you saw in the case of those examples that I was showing you that, well, it's not really a smart move because some films are proving to be more better, at least to general consensus, being more positive than the latter, But according to a film critic named Courtney Howard, she apparently received a response from Rotten Tomatoes because I guess she asked for clarification on the matter, and they confirmed that they will be restoring the placement of the critic reviews on their layout of the website, so you will be seeing those reviews once you do the Google search and stuff like that. And I have verified it, and yes, they are back up. I'll even check it right now just to be sure. Let's look up the Challengers review real quick. Yes, it is back up. So they're back up now, but yeah, they were putting up the audience reviews over the critic reviews, and I can see the pressure from studios, pushing the audience reception more over the critical ones, because typically they're more positive, and in that it can help boost ticket sales, further illustrating Hollywood's hurt right now. That just, again, that proves more to my point that Hollywood is hurting. And anyone who knows anything about Rotten Tomatoes, that they're known for being flocked and, let's just call it as it is, manhandled by these corporate interests. They're themselves being sellouts to these companies. Their system also being manipulated. Like, anyone remember the Ophelia incident? That Daisy Ridley film? Remember that film where a paid review got the filmmaker's distribution in the U.S. And that was, that's an example of what can happen on this website. So in this case, the company was basically just being shilly, and they got caught red-handed. So good on the internet for reminding them of their integrity, even though I could give a shit about Rotten Tomatoes, but good to remind them of their integrity and their honesty, I guess. I don't know, but yeah, never cared about Rotten Tomatoes, but I just found it that interesting that they were just pushing that over the critical rating, and I bet you anything that was Hollywood studios requesting that they put that over critical ratings to hopefully boost ticket sales. But no, not anymore. So. All right, let's get into some recent news. Some very recent news, actually. This came out yesterday. There's a new Lord of the Rings film coming out pretty soon. During a shareholders meeting, Warner Brothers revealed that they'll be returning to Middle-earth in the live-action medium, with its first being tentatively titled Lord of the Rings: The Hunt for Gollum. So the film will be directed and starring Andy Serkis, coming back to reprise his role as Gollum. Directorial-wise, Andy Serkis has directed a few films, notably Breve with Andrew Garfield, Mowgli, which I remember not being too bad, and Venom 2 as well. Peter Jackson will be involved as a producer, and it has a release window for 2026. And this is being the first of multiple live-action projects in the works for the company, based, of course, on the books written by J.R.R. Tolkien. There's also an animated feature titled Lord of the Rings: The War on the Rohirrim. Sorry. That is set to be released this year on December 13th. So, yeah. I've only ever seen all the Lord of the Rings films in two separate sets, one for the original trilogy and then the other for the Hobbit films. My memory of them isn't the best, nor do I really have a desire to return to that world. It's not a world that I'm personally curious about. But that being said, if the studio wanted this IP to come back theatrically, a story around Gollum, their most recognizable character in the series, I think that that's probably the best bet to take. To create basically a spin-off film. I'm not personally interested, but I would believe that there are people who would be interested in a Gollum film. So, so I think it's a good move. But I'm not interested in Lord of the Rings. It's just not for me. But you know, I know that people will be. So so yeah. I mean, just in a way to revitalize that IP. I mean, or to expand it back into theaters because I know they're on TV with Rings of Power. Um, it seems like a smart move to me. If you were to ask me as the outsider. So so there you have that. All right, keeping it up with Warner Brothers, let's get into the big topic for this week, which is, of course, revolving around Superman. Um, James Gunn, who we know directed the Guardians of the Galaxy films and is in charge of the upcoming rebooted DC universe, he has posted a first look at the new DC's Superman, which is starring David Cornsweet. Is that how you pronounce his name, by the way? It doesn't sound right. I mean, if it is, let me know. Um, yeah, he posted the first look of Superman in his upcoming interpretation of the character, simply being titled Superman. Um, and I forget when the film's supposed to come out. Let me look it up. I know it's supposed to come out next year. Let me check real quick. It's supposed to be coming out on July 11th, 2025. Originally titled Superman Legacy, but they just decided just to call the film Superman. Um, and as I mentioned, James Gunn is directing it, and I believe writing it. Um, so, like, I don't care for superheroes. I mean, I'm just really here to make a comment on just the costume. Um, if you were to tell me that this was for an upcoming show, I'd believe you. Now, knowing that this is for a feature-length film and is the start of a new universe for Warner Brothers, the word that comes to mind is restricted. I would also use the word cheap, because it's not terrible. I'll say that up front. It's not terrible, but it certainly isn't the same caliber as previous incarnations look-wise. Like I said, I don't really care for the film. Like, I'm just really done with superheroes. And it wouldn't have mattered if the suit looked good or not. Like, I still wouldn't be interested. But the look doesn't say much except that it's going potentially for a comedic, lighthearted approach, which I guess is a welcome change just because we've always had the dour, kind of dark Superman approach for a while. So, but maybe put some effort into the suit. Like, it doesn't look too good, but it's not awful either. It's just not doing anything for me. I mean, it really feels like a costume. Like, that's the way I'll put it. It really feels like a costume, and less so of a suit. And I think that what kills me is like the lines. Like, there's like a bunch of lines all over the suit. It like makes it look cheaper, like something of like a muscle suit, you know. Um, so it's not bad. It doesn't have the same effect as like the Henry Cavill suit or Christopher Reeves' suit. Those are very unique looks, and they work in um, their respected films, and just as their own, they just look like better costumes. But this just looks like a costume and not a suit. So those were suits. This is a costume, and I don't know. It just doesn't look that great. Maybe it's the pose. I don't know. Maybe it's just the picture. I don't know. But I don't know. I also don't really care too much either. But yeah, it doesn't look too great if you were to ask me. So, all right. Let's get into two trailers for today. One of which we've actually been discussing this for a while now, but now we have a first look of sorts. For Megaoplolis. We've discussed this a few times on the news roundup, and we have a first look with Adam Driver. And this has an all-star cast: Adam Driver, Esposito, Giancarlo Esposito, I think that's how you say his name, Aubrey Plaza, Shia LaBeouf, Lawrence Fishburne, Dustin Hoffman, Jason Schwartzman. We got a little teaser ahead of the premiere at Cannes. And it's a vague trailer. I mean, it doesn't say too much, doesn't tell us much outside of just teasing the science fiction elements. So, not much to go on. I'll say he didn't have to shout like "time stop." That one line I felt was just unnecessary. It kind of broke my immersion a little bit. I think the snap of his fingers was enough to illustrate the scene while maintaining subtlety, you know. But it's a pretty non-trailer. There's not much to talk about except, well, there's footage and you can watch it if you want to. It's more or less a clip, so I mean, if you want to, you can check it out. But you know, this is still a film that I feel is going to have more trouble than benefits. So, but yeah, so that's the first look. Not much to say. So, and finally, the other trailer that we're gonna discuss is the second trailer for A Quiet Place Day One. The only reason I decided to watch this trailer, because typically, if you guys know, I don't watch more than just the first trailer, just because I don't want to get spoiled too much as to what the story is or anything like that. So I don't usually watch more than one, but I decided to watch another one just because I want to confirm my suspicions of the first trailer. And it sure validates how I feel, in that this looks to have more in common with World War Z than of the series itself. I mean, even the poster pretty much reflects that, you know. The monsters are basically zombies now. Like, you get like hordes of them coming at you now. Um, yeah, I'm pretty disinterested. Starring Lupita Nyong'o, Joseph King, Alex Wolff, Digimon Hanaso. Sorry if I butchered his name, but being written and directed by Michael Sarnowski, the guy who gave us Pig, which I really enjoyed Pig. But yeah, I'm pretty disinterested. I'm not planning on checking it out. It's a concept that, while it worked well in the previous two, maybe it's just by the direction of this, by the choice of just how they're wishing to utilize this concept, but it just feels like it's run out of appeal and it's more or less devolving now. So, yeah. So, yeah, not really that interested. I'm starting to, like, not really. I mean, I didn't really care by the first trailer, and now the second trailer, I'm just like, I just really don't care now. So, yeah. So those are my thoughts for this week. We had a ton of stuff happen with Superman, Megaoplois finally getting a trailer, a couple things here and there. You guys know all your thoughts in all these topics, your thoughts on the new Lord of the Rings film coming out. Let me know all your thoughts in the comment section below. And that's going to be it for this video, guys. Thank you guys for tuning in. And until then, I will catch you guys in the next video. Bye.